President Obama's 20-minute inaugural address delivered to a packed crowd on the National Mall right after he took the oath of office effectively set the tone for the next 4 years. After a rocky 4 years marked by bitter battles between the White House and Republicans in Congress, Obama made it clear he would continue to press lawmakers to move toward him on some of the toughest policy questions ahead. Joining us now with a look at President Obama's second inaugural address and what we can expect from the upcoming State of the Union is Professor Saladin Ambar. Good morning and welcome to Ebru today. So let's start with, some of the stuff that the president touched on, and how do you think he did?
Well, I thought it was an extraordinary moment in American political history. The address may not go down as the greatest inaugural address ever, but I do think it was historic for its inclusiveness, the emphasis that we are a nation of equals and with respect to women, with respect to gays, African Americans, Latinos. President Obama put forth a message that I think is historic in its effort to see the American people as indeed one people. And so for that, I think it was memorable.
Well, he brought up a lot of issues. It was only a 20-minute speech, but he definitely touched on a lot of different things. One of the biggest things right now is what we were just seeing in one of our reporters, Robin's piece. And 55% of people are saying that they support some kind of gun control. Mm-hmm. What do you think, with that issue, where he's going with that and what he's going to face?
Well, I think the president's made it pretty clear that this for him is a personal issue now, and that his personal integrity is on the line with respect to guns and gun control, and perhaps pushing forward a new kind of assault weapons ban. So I don't think there's going to be any backing down. I think he'll be pushing forward to that extent that he's even willing to lose on the issue, even with members of his own party who may come from conservative districts. So I think that's a non-starter as far as hoping that issue is going to go away.
He's facing a lot of opposition on that. What do you think he needs to do to make headway with what he wants to do?
Well, I think he just needs to be honest and forthright in explaining why the Second Amendment, as indispensable to the Bill of Rights and our Constitution as it is not an absolute, amendment. We have no absolute rights in America. Everything can be regulated and put in a proper context. And I think he just has to speak in terms that ordinary people can understand. We all have the freedom of speech, but we all know that right now I can't say whatever I want. There'll be some repercussions. And so I think the same is true for guns. And I think the president has the American people for the most part on his side.
Very good point. And he also touched on health care. He talked about Medicare. He talked about taking care of the people who made this country what it is, while looking out for the people that are going to be responsible for its future. What do you think he needs to do to make sure that happens?
Well, I think, looking at the demographic changes taking place in the country, not just with regard to ethnicity, but how people have come to see the government's role in their lives as not necessarily negative, but as positive, I think he just needs to continue to emphasize that the government can play a positive role in the lives of ordinary citizens and those in need. And so I think at the outset of his address, he talked about what makes us exceptional. And it really was a shift from the idea that we are a nation of individuals and a nation bounded by liberty to one that is also bounded by equality. And he really emphasized this issue of equality throughout his address. And I think he's anticipating that the American people sees the nation now as exceptional for this reason of equality on that basis.
He did talk about together. He mentioned that word a lot. And he wants us to come together as a nation, but politically speaking, there's such a divide between the Republicans and the Democrats. How do we move forward and have them work together? How does he do that?
Well, I think he's made a decision that he's going to be combative, if you will. He's going to be a different kind of leader in this term, one who's less conciliatory, frankly. I think there'll always be the option for the president to compromise. I think that's sort of inherent to his nature. But I also think that he's decided that he's not going to yield an inch on principle in ways that perhaps in the first term he thought he might have to. And so I think the Republican Party is going to get the president maybe of their worst nightmare with respect to his confidence and boldness in sticking to his, pardon the pun, but sticking to his guns.
Something he's going to definitely need to do. Now he's got a State of the Union coming up. What do you think we should expect from him, or what can we expect from him?
Well, there I think we'll move from some of the flowing rhetoric that we saw at the inaugural to more nitty-gritty matters, and that'll be interesting to, as the cameras pan to the Republican side of the House to see where people are sitting. I think you're going to get more emphasis on his willingness to touch and deal with entitlements and the debt. I think that that's an area he's certainly willing to compromise, but I think you'll also get a strong emphasis on immigration and why we have to become a country that has a more realistic open door kind of policy than the one we have.
Lots of tough issues that he's going to be dealing with in the coming years. So.
To be sure.
Thank you so much, Professor. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.